Hey, we're live, and already the greetings are starting to come in, which is fantastic, which means you already know what to do. This is another episode of Cruise Chat for Canadians. Welcome. It's Wednesday evening. My name is Matt Hope. I am your host for this evening. Joining us for our chat this evening, we have Karen, who will be discussing shore excursions. We have Luke, who is going to be covering the Eastern Caribbean. And as well, we have Tina, who's joining us. So as we do in the past, if you are joining us, in order to be able to get into our draw, please make sure that you comment. Let us know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to throw them into the comments. We will flag them and make sure that we get to them at the end. So here's our agenda for this evening. Who we are? Well, we are cruise specialists that work with Vacations for Canadians. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are on LinkedIn. We are all over the map. And so we are here to provide you with your cruise deals that we have regularly, that we are always posting to be able to offer you the best and latest sailing itineraries from all the different cruise lines. But in addition to that, we also offer everything from start to finish to help you out with cruises, whether it be assistance with flights, whether it be hotels, whether it be transfers, you name it, we're here to help you out. And even if you just have questions about the cruise lines or some of the different add-ons and perks, we are here to help you and put your mind at ease as you go through that vacation planning process. So looking at our destination highlight for tonight, like I said, Luke will be talking about the Eastern Caribbean. And then Karen will be doing a spotlight on shore excursions, which is always such a critical part of planning that vacation because, yeah, it's great that we're going to go to all these places, but what are we going to do when we get there? Are we just going to wander on our own and just hope that we stumble upon something? Or do we really want to go through the cruise lines who have done the time to vet all of these different providers that have different travel opportunities for us at these great destinations? So Karen's going to talk about that with you. And then, like I said, we're going to get to those Q&A right at the end. So bring those questions into us, whether it be about the Eastern Caribbean, whether it be about shore excursions or anything else you want to ask us about. That's why we're here, is to be able to answer some of those questions for you. So we'll flag the questions as we go throughout, and then we'll get to those at the end. And then, like I said, we will have a VFC, a Vacations for Canadians prize pack that we are going to give away at the end. So you have to make sure that you say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're from and that you're watching. That way you get entered into the draw, and then we will pick from everybody who throws in those comments. So without further ado, we're going to move on to the first part of our presentation, which will be with Luke talking about the Eastern Caribbean. Luke, take it away.
Excellent. Well, Eastern Caribbean. As probably many of you know, Eastern Caribbean is probably one of the most sought after cruise area in the Caribbean, just because of the volume of islands that are available. Cruise lines are usually very good at picking various islands based on different itineraries, different times of year, and so on. And as you know, the Caribbean are usually a year-round destination. Yes, people do go in the summer. Matt went to Nassau, Bahamas a couple of weeks ago and realized that, it's doable in the summer. It's a little hot, but it does work. So Eastern Caribbean. Eastern Caribbean is basically, if you know a little bit of geography, you have, Florida, and you have, you have Cuba to the right. And below that, you start off with Dominican Republic, and then you have Puerto Rico, and then you have all of the islands that kind of separate themselves between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. And some of those islands are St. Martin, St. Lucia, St. Croix, St. Thomas, right down to Grenada and Barbados, which are some pretty well-known islands. There are some unique islands that sit between those, like Antigua, which is a British isle. But in the same token, We'll talk about some of the islands, and those that I will present tonight are those that I've actually been to and I can speak of based on personal experience. So we'll move on to the next slide. So as I mentioned here, Eastern Caribbean, this is kind of like the slice of the pie where you have Dominican Republic, which attached to Haiti. And the reason Haiti is actually on our list here is because Royal Caribbean has a private island or a private beach, I guess, or a peninsula in Haiti called Labadee. And then you have Dominican Republic, which have ports in Puerto Plata for the most part. There's other smaller ones. And then you're into Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico, famous island as well. It's a U.S. Virgin Island, which means people in Puerto Rico are considered American citizens, but they don't vote as part of the American elections. And then from there you have St. Martin, and as you St. Kitts, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Dominican or Dominica, I guess. And then St. Lucia, the Vincent Islands. You have Barbados, and at the bottom you have Grenada. And then obviously if you had a map and you could see further down, then you're into the Southern Caribbean, which is Aruba, Bonaire, and Caracas, and a few other areas. All right, so our first island, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an island that many cruise lines, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, Princess, Celebrity, all cruise to as a port. But also it's also used as an embarkation point for some of the cruise lines as well. So San Juan, Puerto Rico is also a depart or embarkation port. So you can fly to Puerto Rico, get on the ship from there. The capital or the port in Puerto Rico is called San Juan. Their currency is they usually take US dollars, and the island itself has a population of about 3.2 million people. So it's a pretty dense populated island. And given its size, it's fair to say that it's a decent sized island. So here you'll notice that I've broken things down in terms of beaches, excursions, attractions, shopping, and so we'll start off with some beaches. There's the Exambrium Beach, there's the Ocean Park Beach, the Hobby Beach, the Condora Beach and Lagoon, and there's the Islanda Verde Beach. The bottom three are fairly close together. They're intertwined. Some of these beaches you can walk to, it's a 15, 20-minute walk, or you can take a bus or go to one of those beaches as part of an excursion. Well, what's Puerto Rico known for? Bacardi rum. And what can you do? Take a Bacardi rum tour. You can something else that you can do from an excursion perspective is tour the city of Ponce, which is on the north side, I guess, of the island, and it's considered the Pearl of the South. Also, there's cave and river cruising, and also kayaking. And so on. So excursions are things that, we could have a long list of excursions and make recommendations, but I think it's those excursions typically are defined or they're personal to whoever's cruising, and we customize them to each and every client that we deal with. And of course, Karen will talk about excursions as part of the next phase of our presentation tonight. Attractions, Old San Juan. I think in itself, with just walking the cobblestone streets, the narrow streets that are like basically one-way streets that, you wonder how people can walk up and down the streets, and cars get themselves around for the locals to get around town and stuff. San Juan itself is a beautiful city to visit. Also, you'll notice in the bottom right-hand picture, or bottom left-hand picture there's a It's the Castillo Saint Philippe del Moro and the Fort of Castillo San Cristobal, I guess it was called. There's a whole area there that you could basically walk to. I think it's about 20 minutes to 30-minute walk. And you could literally spend all day touring the history and learning about the history. And I think it dates back to the early 1600s on when the fort was originally built to protect San Juan back in those days. Shopping. Old San Juan itself, full of shopping, little stores, little boutiques you walk into. It doesn't look like much, but you walk in and, there's all kinds of little knickknacks and things that are specific to San Juan. One caution though, if you look and you see a vendor selling Rolex watch for $60 US, walk away. Because guess what? You buy one, you get home, it stops working. And it's not worth more than maybe $10 or $15. Anyways, my son got caught in that one. Anyways, there's also a plaza called Las Americas. It's got a 2-story building. It's a little shopping mall. And I see it on my slide here, but I see my slide. There's I think it's called Ashford Avenue. It's kind of like a little avenue that has more upscale shops and such. Now, when you get off the ship in Puerto Rico, in San Juan, the first thing you see is Señor Frog. And if you've never been to Señor Frog, it's one experience where it's like a party, and borderline people are dancing on tables with inflatable balloons on their heads and all kinds of stuff. So anyways, Señor Frog is not to be missed in Puerto Rico. All right, our next one, St. Martin. Well, if you've attended one of our previous Wednesday night cruise chat, I did a presentation on St. Martin. And by far, I think to this day, I think St. Martin still has a special spot in my heart in terms of, one of my favorite islands. I think I've been there at least 4 to 5 times now on a cruise. I've actually, my wife and I have decided to, at one point a couple of years ago, we went before the hurricane hit the island in, I think, 2019. We spent a week at an all-inclusive because we liked the island, and we actually learned a lot about the island because we rented a car and drove around. So beaches, Maho Beach. Who doesn't know about Maho Beach? If you've seen the middle picture here where there's a plane landing over the beach, the airport is right there. The only thing that separates the beach is basically a little piece of pavement where cars go by and a chain link fence. And it's quite the experience. Then there's Orient Beach, Grand Case Beach, which is on the Saint Martin side or the French side of the island. And then there's a Great Bay Beach. The Great Bay Beach is the beach right there in Phillipsburg. When you first get up, you can actually see it from the ship. So Phillipsburg is actually the port of in St. Martin. Typical currency there again is in US dollars, and the population of St. Martin on the Dutch side, for instance, is about 43,000 people. The population on the French side is probably about half of that, and that other part of the island is actually owned by France. Excursions. St. Martin has an extensive list of excursions from island tours to catamarans, snorkeling to sailing, but for the most part, beaches. St. Martin is known for their beaches, not only on the St. Martin side, but also on the St. Martin side. So both the Dutch and the French side. And I've listed a couple there that are well known and are fairly easily accessible. Attractions, again, Maho Beach. If you go to St. Martin, you want to experience the whole plane landing or taking off over a beach, and you've seen those pictures online and on videos, or people have posted videos, Maho Beach is an experience. even if you only are there for half an hour, it is an experience in itself. Again, attractions for St. Martin, other than, you know, your typical shopping and, you know, whatever, beaches, 37 beaches around the island, and every single one of them are attainable and reachable. Shopping, you know, you have the main street or the main drag in Phillipsburg. You back up one street, because most of the shops that are actually facing the beach itself, there are a lot of them are bars and restaurants and bistros and that kind of stuff. But if you go back one street, there's plenty of shopping. There's a main street there, and there's you know, Diamond International. There's Saint, you know, there's Tommy Hilfiger and that kind of stuff and shops. But there's also you know, the local types of shops. The other one is in Marigot. There's a whole market in Marigot, which is on the Saint Martin side, on the French side. Perfect shopping there. It's kind of linked to a marina, and it's close to a beach, and you know, it's quite the experience. You'll notice here I've actually put Kon-Tiki Orient Beach. Well, I do not go to St. Martin without going to Kon-Tiki's. By experience, I just grab a taxi, and I make myself we make our way over to Orient Beach over on the French side, and we go to Kon-Tiki every single time we hit the island. It's a nice little restaurant. It's on the beach. The water's calm. It's a little on the cooler side because it does face the Atlantic, but excellent experience. And for us, it's kind of like, it's that gem that you discover when you go to an island, and every time you go back, you just have to go there over and over again. Again, Kon-Tiki, Orient Beach. A little story around that one is we discovered this one the first time we ever went to St. Martin. We took a tour bus, and the tour bus actually took us to this beach, Orient Beach. But for those that have been to St. Martin before and have been to Orient Beach, the beach is divided into two parts. If you're actually facing the beach, over on the right side is it's a nudist club, and they have a resort there. So if you take the wrong turn off the bus, you're heading into, you know, a nudist beach. But if you walk over to the left side, towards the left side, then you're onto Orient Beach, and this is where you find Kon-Tiki. And no, I don't go to that beach because I want to spend time on the right side. It's more of, you know, the experience of the beach itself. All right. Antigua. Very interesting island, and I have a very interesting experience with this one because in this particular case, this island, Antigua, you know, the port that you land into or dock at is in St. John's. It's a nice island of, you know, 96,000 people or so. It's a fairly small island. Originally, we didn't have anything planned for that island, and we decided to walk around in the little area, the shopping area, the Heritage Quay or the Radcliffe Quay area. It's a port shopping as you get off the ship. And this lady approached us and says, you know what, how about I take you on a special excursion? I have room in my taxi for, you know, 6 people. And so these 3 couples jumped into her taxi, and she took us to Shirley's Point, and I have it listed here, Shirley's Heights Lookout. Fantastic view. The experience was out of this world. Excellent place for taking pictures and so on. And then she took us on the way back. She kind of took us into a marina where we parked there for a little while, and we got to see these huge yachts that were docked in Antigua. But also, once we left there, she basically gave us a little bit of a history around Antigua. Antigua was, I guess, was known back in, you know, the 18th century or 19th century about sugar canes. And when the turn of the century into the 21st century started, the way she explained it is people on the island are a little lazy, and they had a hard time finding people to harvest the sugarcane as part of the island. So needless to say, the sugarcane industry in Antigua basically died, and primarily their industry now is actually tourism, and they're very dependent on tourism, and they were hit pretty hard with COVID. And then she dropped us off at a beach, and I think it was called Darkwood or Driftwood or something. And she says, "I'll come back and pick you up in 2 hours." And everybody else went back to the port, and we stayed there, and we're wondering, is she going to come back? And we spent 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours at this beach. Wonderful beach, nice bar, food and so on. And all of a sudden we look over, and there she was. She was waiting for us. And she picked us up and took us back to port and told us the whole story about her family and how they dealt with COVID and all this kind of stuff. But it was kind of like that personal experience that has left me with a special spot in the sense with Antigua, because I got to spend some time with a local. It kind of gave me a little bit of sense of what their island's about and what their culture is about and a little bit of their history, and took us to her perspective, to Shirley's Heights Point, which or lookout, which she felt was somewhere where if you go to Antigua, don't miss this lookout. Needless to say, excellent experience. So, again, Antigua, like every other Southern Caribbean or Eastern Caribbean islands, beaches, beaches, beaches. And in this case, Dixon Bay Beach, there's Half Moon Beach, and there's Valley Church Beach. Those are the top three that are kind of coming up when you do a beach search for an excursion or to go to a beach. Those are the three that come up. Attractions, there's St. John's Cathedral that dates back, I think, 1700s. There's Fort James. Again, I mentioned Shirley's Heights Lookout. And there's the Nielsen's Dockyard. I guess this is a dockyard. I haven't visited it myself, but based on my research, it's an old dockyard that has been refurbished, and as borderline, I guess they're converting it into a museum and that kind of stuff. Again, shopping right there off the port. And I just noticed a mistake. We have an image that says Puerto Rico on our Antigua screen. So anyways, we'll fix that for the next time. All right, next island, Barbados. Barbados. I mean, you hear these commercials. They used to have, welcome to Barbados and all kinds of stuff back in a while back. And Barbados is no different than any other Eastern Caribbean island. Beautiful island. You dock in Bridgetown, Barbados. They take either the US dollars or the Barbados British dollar. I forget what the term is. And the island itself is about 280,000 residents. What is Barbados known for? Turtles and shipwreck snorkeling adventures. There's plenty of snorkeling to be done around Barbados. In our case, we did a catamaran tour. Fantastic tour. Took us to various different private islands or private beaches that you can only access through a catamaran. Excellent experience. And then they're known for their Mount Kay rum, and they have a visitor center for that. Attraction: Harrison's Cave, baobab tree. These are trees that are over 1,000 years old, and I tried to get a picture of them to put in our presentation. These trees are huge. They're found throughout the island and so on. Grapefruit trees. Why is this here? Grapefruit. Barbados claim that grapefruits come from, or the original grapefruit tree actually came from Barbados. So they have various drinks, and everything is around the grapefruit trees and grapefruit on the island. Shopping, Broad Street. And then there's a Pelican Village. Broad Street is actually one street. If you get off in the port, you walk back a street or two, you'll find Broad Street. Plenty of shopping there. Again, Barbados, a very beautiful island, and I highly recommend taking a catamaran in Barbados. Excellent experience. All right, let's move on to St. Lucia. St. Lucia, also known for the Piton Mountains. There's the Petite Piton and the Gross Piton. Beaches. They have Redoit Beach, Sugar Beach, Rodney Beach, and Arn Castanet Beach. Again, all of these islands in the Southern Caribbean, or the Eastern Caribbean, I keep saying Southern, but the Eastern Caribbean. Excellent beaches. You can't go wrong with any of the beaches you pick. Some are a little more dense populated because they're very popular, but you can always find yourself a decent beach. Castries, you dock in Castries, St. Lucia. Nice little port. I actually have a video on my phone where we got on the catamaran and we basically circled the ship as we left port, or left the dock, I guess, to go on our tour. And I have a full video of the Anthem of the Seas, and it was just fantastic. I pop it up once in a while and take a look at it. Excursions, catamaran tour. Our excursion with catamaran, or taking catamaran tour, it actually took us to, and I keep trying to remember where it was. It's, let me pull it up here on my, don't worry about it. It was this little island. It's kind of like a bay, and there's a fort, and Pigeon Island. That's what it was called. And there's a beautiful beach. There's an old, I guess, military fort, or a fort that's decayed over the years, and you can actually see it. It's pretty cool. And a beach, and you can buy yourself there's a little boat that comes up, one of those little Caribbean boats with a little roof and whatever else, and they're serving coconut rum, and actually in a coconut, not a coconut rum, pina colada, right in a coconut, which is fantastic. You can do a gross Piton tour on itself, but for us, because we did the whole catamaran tour, once we left that island, that beach, we actually sailed across the waterway there, and we made it to the other end of the island, which is where we saw the pitons, and they do stand out, and they're fairly big, something to see. There's obviously a beach day tour. You can actually grab a tour bus or get an excursion that takes you on a bus and takes you to a beach, and then obviously they take you back into town and do some shopping. Attractions, Gross Piton, small Petite Piton is actually what the other one's called. There's Diamond Falls Botanical Garden. The picture in the center is actually a picture of one of the spots in the botanical garden. Supposedly it's outstanding from those people that love those kinds of things, or even if you just like waterfalls, or you like greenery and flowers and nature in itself. Excellent place to be. Pigeon Island, again, I kind of mentioned it a little bit. As far as shopping, Castries Central Market is fairly well known for that kind of shopping. A little bit of story before I move on to the next slide. We were on a catamaran leaving the last island, and the agreement that Royal Caribbean in this particular case had with the catamaran tour is rum punch was not to be served until after the last person is on the boat from the last beach stop. And so anyways, so we're sitting on the back of the catamaran facing the back, and we see this wooden boat with about 6 or 7 people that live on St. Lucia, coming towards us. And I'm facing the back of the catamaran, and the first thing I yell, and I could see the captain just above me right here. And I said, the pirates are coming, because you hear about all these pirates, boats are being hijacked by pirates, and these people were coming towards us. And it turns out they had run out of ice, and they were bringing ice to the catamaran. So it was kind of like a funny story, but anyways, we had a great time. Catamaran always comes out with a good story. All right, St. Kitts. St. Kitts, beautiful island, very scenic. And we'll start off with Udokan Bastyr, St. Kitts, US dollars, because of the size of the island, population is about 35,000 people. Some very, I guess not important, but the top beaches that come up when looking into St. Kitts are Cockle Shell Island, South Fryer Beach, and South Peninsula Beach. Those are the top three that you may want to consider as you look for a beach in St. Kitts. Excursion, scenic island tour. You'll notice there from the middle picture, they have these unique kind of landscape when it comes to St. Kitts in terms of how the island is actually made and whatever else. And some of the scenic tours are outstanding. Again, catamaran tours seems to be a common excursion when doing the Eastern Caribbean. And then there's also a Nevis beach. Nevis is a little island separate from St. Kitts, but it's part of the St. Kitts Nevis Islands. And you can actually take a day trip over to Nevis Beach. Attractions, there's the Mulga. It's the highest peak on the island, or Mount Liam Mulga. There's the Brimston Hill Fortress National Park, which is kind of part of that whole area as well. And then there's Timothy Hill, important for attractions to be considered. Shopping, Port Zante. The picture in the top, when you first get off the cruise ship, there's a whole area there. It goes back 4 or 5 streets, or 4 or 5 sets of buildings back, and it's a fairly wide, so if you want to get off the ship and that's all you want to do is port shopping, there's plenty of that to be done. And my wife doesn't like me going to St. Kitts anymore because there's a Harley Davidson store in St. Kitts. And, well, if anybody knows me, I see a Harley store and I usually don't come out empty-handed. So, again, plenty of shopping there. And then there's the circus, which is kind of like a little shopping mall area. In St. Kitts, again, a beautiful island, and yeah. Oops, I guess the next button. All right. In summary, Eastern Caribbean, probably one of the most publicized area in the Caribbean is the Eastern Caribbean. Like I mentioned earlier, Celebrity and Royal Caribbean and Princess and all of them, even Disney, all have itineraries that touches the Eastern Caribbean. They're unique in the sense that, depending on the island, you're either on the Atlantic Ocean or you're in the Caribbean Sea, but it's kind of like the divide, between the two as you enter the Gulf of Mexico. Eastern Caribbean is, as a whole, is probably one of my favorite areas to cruise to. And again, St. Martin, as I mentioned earlier, is for me hard to beat. So there you go, people, and there you go, the Eastern Caribbean.
All right, thanks so much, Luke. And it's great when you touch on this many different options in the Eastern Caribbean. And if you look on some of our cruise deals that we offer through Vacations for Canadians, you'll actually see on some of the longer Caribbean sailings that we have on those 10-night, 11-night type sailings that you will hit almost every one of these different ports. So it's always good to make sure that you're checking our deals out. So that you can see, as a lot of times our promotional offers include these different cruise ports. You can also tell just how well educated our travel advisors are. As Luke is talking about these different ports, you can see the expressions on our faces. We've obviously been to all of these and have fond memories. And I thought it particularly interesting that you said that it was a wrong turn that if you go to the nude beach at Orient Beach. But we'll put a pin in that one for now, and we'll move on to shore excursions, because I imagine Orient Beach isn't one of the shore excursions that Karen's going to talk about, but who knows, maybe. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Karen, and we'll talk about shore excursions.
Thank you. We'll have to wait and see if Orient Beach comes up in my roster here. So thanks for everything, Luke, to give us the orientation of the Caribbean there. And I'm here to talk to you about shore excursions, which is kind of the next step. After you've booked your cruise, you're saying, now what do I do? Well, how do I want to fill my time is really what the shore excursion is going to help you out with. So I'm going to give you a few pointers on what to look for, how to decide what the best options are for you, and really how to make the most of your cruise vacation by shore excursions. So sometimes I get clients saying, what do I do in this port of call? And of course, we've got lots of recommendations we can offer, but the answer truly is anything you want. So here's a bit of a snapshot of some different things that you can do. You can do anything from dog sledding to whale watching, to a Jeep excursion, to a walking tour, snorkeling, ziplining. The options are truly endless, and there's no way I could possibly go through everything that we would, could recommend here. But it's how do you want to fill your time? So thinking about how much time do you have in port, how much time do you want to fill of that day, and what is really on that bucket list of yours that you want to do when you're experiencing these exciting shores. So the first thing to think about is, where do you buy these shore excursions? Where do you do your research? Well, I usually go to the cruise site first, the cruise line of it's got a good option of different things that I can do at each port of call. So as soon as my cruise is booked, I look online and I figure out where the cruise is recommending that I visit. This is half of the research that I need to do, because they're going to hit the highlights for sure. You can rest assured that they're going to showcase all the best places to go in each port of call. So that's my first stop. And then, of course, looking at different options, which we have all listed out on our Vacations for Canadians website. You can do them independently as well. So you can book through the cruise line. Now, the great thing about booking through the cruise line is they know where you are. So you're with a reputable vendor, and they know exactly where you are. So if anything were to come up during your voyage, your shore excursion, maybe your delayed entry into port, the cruise line will take care of notifying those vendors for you. So you don't have to worry about that. Or if for some reason you're getting back to the ship a little bit later than expected, they can also make the alert as well. So the cruise lines have some great options, and it definitely is a safe bet. They've got great options to see anything you could possibly want. But if you've cruised before, or you want to do something a little bit unique or different, you can also look for independent companies that would offer shore excursions. And, again, these are very reputable as well. Viator is a terrific one. I've booked with them many times. Tours by Locals, Get Your Guide, shoreexcursions.com, and Resort for a Day are ones that I've personally used and had great success with. So they offer maybe some similar shore excursions, as well as some unique ones that might be worth considering. Now, with these ones, you're doing a little bit more of the homework. So you're doing the booking, of course, and coordinating things like your departure time and whatnot. But there's some terrific opportunities through those. I'll touch upon Resort for a Day for just a moment before we go forward. Now, for some of you who like the cruise experience as well as the all-inclusive experience, this is kind of that happy medium between the two. So Resort for a Day, if you haven't done it before, is your opportunity to go to a port of call and actually experience a resort, like an all-inclusive resort, as if you were staying there on the premises. So perhaps if you've actually gone to that particular port of call before, and you've already hit the island highlights, or you've already been there, you've done that, you want to do something different, especially in the Caribbean, these are great opportunities for you to go and experience that all-inclusive feel while you're on the cruise. So just a pointer on that one. So when do you want to be booking these things? Now, of course, some things are really going to book up quickly. So if you're looking to go dog sledding, there's only a limited amount of seats. If you're looking for a helicopter ride, there's only a limited number of seats. So it's not always the big bus tours that you're going to be getting with these shore excursions. Some of them are quite private and personalized. So depending upon what you're looking for, the best time to book is early, because those really great excursions are going to book up quickly, especially for those really hot specific areas of the world that you want to do something very special with. So I would never recommend delaying. The great thing is you can watch for things like sales. If they have them on the cruise lines, they often advertise them as discounted, or you can use your onboard credit as well to use get some shore excursions booked. So thinking a little bit about what kind of experience you're looking for, this is the first thing I would consider is, am I looking for like a large group experience? As you can see, these folks are sitting on a large bus, a coach bus. And with that, you're probably going to be doing like a city highlights tour. Maybe it's a bit of transportation. You are going to be accompanied with maybe 52 other people, which, you know, in some instances is perfectly fine. Or are you looking for something more customized or private? So of course, even through the cruise lines, you can book more private tours where it's maybe yourself and a couple other people, or just your family yourselves, depending upon what you're looking for. That can really dictate things in price, of course, because the more private your tour is, the more expensive it's going to be. But it also allows you to customize things. So places of interest that you have, if you want to, you know, maybe visit certain stops and then head away. Once you've visited, you have more flexibility when you do something more personal or private. The next thing I think about is what kind of experience you're looking for. Is it immersive or a city highlight tour? So if you're in the port of call for, say, maybe 8 hours or so, sometimes it's nice to do a bit of a city tour where you get the highlights, get an orientation to where you want to be, you know, kind of get those milestones and those specific places taken care of. And then maybe you have time for some shopping after, or to meander around the town after before you go back to port. Or you might be looking for something specific and immersive where you're actually going to a specific place. I think of, you know, in Alaska, there's whale watching where you really want to get in there. And that's what you want to do for the whole day. You're not looking for a city orientation. You're looking for more of a whale watching experience. Then, you know, that will help you to determine what the best shore excursion is for you. The one thing I will recommend is that you really pay close attention to things like the description of the tour as well as the activity level. So why I mention this is because if you're going on a walking tour, you need to have great shoes and you need to be able to walk the distance. If you're looking for something that's easy, just kind of hop on the bus and you see the sights from the inside of the bus. That's what your keyword should be when you're looking at the different itineraries and the different shore excursions. Or you might be looking for something that's more of a moderate. So maybe you're doing some light bike riding, just kind of a bike riding tour around the city, and it's nothing vigorous or crazy or strenuous. Or you might be looking for something that's kind of a little bit more adventurous and strenuous. So do pay attention to that, because you definitely want to be sure that you're not signing yourself up for something that you're not equipped to do. It's not the time to learn to ride a bike when you've got a 20-mile bicycle ride around Paris. Hopefully that's something you've already mastered before you get to that excursion. But it is really, really quite critical to ensure that you've got the right you're going on the right tour and that you're going to be comfortable when you do it. If you're not comfortable with stairs, then be sure that you're looking for something that's going to be an easy versus something strenuous. So you've booked the tour. Now what do you do? So depending upon where you booked it, if you booked it through the cruise line, then your best thing to do, you will receive a ticket right in your cabin, and it will explain to you where and when to meet. So in some cases, it could be in a lounge or it could be in the theater. Depending upon the specific tour and how many people are going, they will usually give you a number and escort you to the tour bus or to the meeting point, or it could be offshore as well. So if you've booked independently, this is especially important that you make sure you leave yourself enough time to get to that meeting place. It may or may not be right at the shore. So if you have to find an office or where the tour is beginning, make sure you've got that sorted out before you get on board so that you know how to get the walking directions to get there, or if you need to take a taxi. The last thing you want to be doing is getting off the boat and looking at an address in an unfamiliar place, trying to figure out how am I going to get there to start my tour that starts in 10 minutes. And maybe you've got a 20-minute taxi ride to get there. So definitely pay very close attention to those meeting times to ensure that you are in the right place at the right time and that part is stress-free. You'll also want to consider what is included. Now, some of your tours are going to have everything included. So when we think about resort for a day, there's a good chance that your drinks and your food and everything that you do while you're there, including even transportation, would be included. In some cases, there's entry tickets that are included. So I was just in Athens, and there was entry tickets to the Acropolis to go up and visit that. They were included in my ticket, so I didn't have to worry about paying for that when I got there. Is there a snack or lunch that's included as well? In some cases, it's a full day tour, and it is. In other cases, you're actually just going to be stopping for lunch. So you might have to pay for that out of your own pocket. So it is important to understand that before you leave the ship again, to make sure you're picking the right tour and to be sure that you're well equipped for whatever's to come. And then, of course, what to bring. So you're gone for perhaps the whole day. So you need to plan for the weather. So if it's potentially rainy or chilly or a beach day, make sure that you're bringing your beach towel, your umbrella, your sun hat, your sunscreen, your camera, all that good stuff, as well as the appropriate footwear. So, of course, if you're planning on doing a hike, make sure you're not wearing your flip-flops that are comfy for just a leisurely stroll. Or if you're maybe going to the beach, make sure that you're bringing all the equipment you would need for the beach for the day. And of course, currency as well for those lunches that you might need, snacks, souvenirs you might want to pick up along the way, as well as any tips that you might want to leave for your guide. Local currency is usually appreciated if you can do that, depending upon where you're traveling. And the last piece that I want to talk about is the airport drop-off shore excursion. So this I find to be the very, very best way to spend the last day on my cruise. If it's time to pack up, it's time to go home, and you have that lengthy wait at the airport that's waiting for you. If you have time, there's often a combination shore excursion with an airport drop-off that you can get into. And the last 2 cruises that I've done in Amsterdam and then again in Athens, this is exactly how we finished our day, because it brings you to do something before you have to go and wait at the airport. The travel day is long, so if you can minimize the amount of time that you're sitting actually waiting for your flight to depart, if you have time, this is a terrific way to get a little bit of extra sightseeing in before you board your plane. It's also a shame if you are in a new spot and you actually have to, you're getting off your plane, you're off your cruise, you're debarking, and you're going directly to the airport without actually seeing anything there. So this is a terrific way to do so. And also bear in mind, you have to get to the airport somehow. So this is often a great way to kind of blend those 2 things into one. They grab your luggage for you, they put it on the coach, and away you go. It shows up at the airport for you to check into your plane. So all, another great option to kind of help you from end to end on those shore excursions. So there's really nothing, no way that you can go wrong with what you decide to do. Just make sure that you've got, you're not overstuffing your day. If you wanted to have a leisurely day, make sure you plan for that. But it's always good to have some sort of plan ahead of time so that you're not scrambling at the last minute trying to figure out what are we going to do tomorrow. It's always fun to go back to the cruise and then you're chatting with different guests and find out what they did for the day, and it kind of gives you some good notes for next time as well. So you can't go wrong. Always welcome to chat with your advisor. They've got great ideas. We've probably been to a lot of the places you've been to. If not, we've got an excellent little tool of a team here that we can ask and find out where to go when, and come back with some recommendations for you. Again, the cruise line's got some terrific recommendations, as do the private places to go as well. And I'll turn that back over to you, Matt, for the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Karen. Great presentation. I know when I read up on the descriptions and everything for the shore excursions, I'm always looking for the ones that include alcoholic beverages. So it was nice that you touched on food. I had written down food and drinks, but absolutely reading those, there's a lot of helpful information at the bottom of those descriptions, not only on the intensity level of it, but also what's included, what's not included, and what to bring. Just to make reference, when we're talking about shore excursions, if you're interested in seeing the shore excursions that the companies that we work with that offer shore excursions, be sure to visit our website on vacationsforcanadians.com, and right at the top header where you see the different categories where it says Extras Plus. Right on that drop-down menu under Extras, you will actually see a tab for shore excursions where it'll highlight a lot of the companies that Karen just referenced when it's Viator or Tours by Locals. A lot of those companies are right there. So that we have that tool available to you that you can shop for yourself if you don't see the options that you're looking for with your specific cruise line provider. So just to make sure, if you join late, make sure to say hello to us so that we see your names on there so that we can get you in the draw. We're going to be closing that up momentarily. I'm just taking a look over to see if we have any questions. Despite my best efforts to encourage everybody for questions, it seems like we've got a large attendance, but a lot of shy people tonight, which is okay. Shy is all right, but a lot of great information there on our the different destinations that we have in the Eastern Caribbean. Like I said, a lot of those longer Eastern Caribbean cruises that are offered with a lot of our suppliers that we deal with touch on a lot of those ports in one sailing. So if you're looking to hit a lot of those in one go, then be sure to check out some of the cruise suppliers that we deal with, because we do have those longer sailings that visit a lot of those ports that Luke mentioned. And then when you do book those, a lot of those excursions that Karen touched on, you'll get to do all those in one sailing. So a lot of opportunities there to be able to visit some magnificent Caribbean ports and be able to try out some of those incredible shore excursions like Luke's catamaran. I don't know if the pirates will show up. That you might have to read the fine print for that one, but there's definitely some good opportunities there for shore excursions at all those cruise ports. What are we giving away today, Tina? What's the prize that we're giving away today?
Okay, so we have Vacations for Canadians fanny belt, and it's not just any fanny belt. I have to show you this. I've put it on to show you guys because you can't even see it. It actually tucks right under your shirt, and it's very thin profile. So can you guys see that? I'm trying to maneuver myself in front of the camera here.
Yeah,
and it actually fits money. I can get my phone in here. I can get my credit cards in here, zips up, and then my shirt goes over, and that's it. So that is what we are giving away this week.
Okay. All right. And I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but I know me, I'd wear that right on the outside of my shirt and just advertise it as I'm walking around. But
well, you can do that too.
But it's definitely good for concealment because some of these, some of the places we go to, there's a little bit of more problems with pickpocketers and stuff like that. So definitely for security of your personal possessions or identification, because when you are getting off the ship, it's you have to have identification on you for when you're going back through security to get back on board. So definitely a good way to hold on to any money that you're bringing off the ship, as well as your identification.
Okay,
we see our first question.
Yeah, we got a question. I wanted to jump in and let you know.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
yeah, great. I see that. So how long would you do for Eastern Caribbean? 10 or 14 days. Honestly, it depends on where you're departing from as well, because if you're departing from San Juan, so Luke was talking about San Juan, we do have cruises that depart from San Juan, and it cuts down some of the sea days that you would take to actually get to some of these Caribbean ports. So if you were departing from Florida, then sometimes you need a day or two to actually get to some of these Caribbean ports. Whereas if you were departing from San Juan, you're already in the Caribbean, and you will see that they can hit multiple Caribbean ports in one sailing. So sometimes you can go on the shorter side of that spectrum because you know that you're already starting in the Caribbean and you can hit a lot of those. Whereas 14 days, maybe then you're looking at a Florida departure, because you're going to need a couple sea days on either end to actually get you out to the Caribbean.
And that's a good point, Matt, because the ports that I kind of touched on today was part of a 12-day or 12-night cruise out of Cape Liberty, New Jersey. So again, it's 2 days to get to the first island, which was Puerto Rico, and then from there was pretty well an island every single day, and then again 2 to 3 days to come back. So good point on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I've done a couple of 10-night Caribbean cruises out of Fort Lauderdale, and a lot of these ports that Luke touched on were all part of our itinerary. It took a couple of sea days to get there, but then when you did, then it was back to back to back to back. You hit about 5 ports in a row, and then you start your sea days to get you back to Fort Lauderdale. So there's definitely opportunities with a lot of the different cruise lines that we deal with that work with those longer sailing itineraries, where you can see a lot of ports over a 10 to 14 days. Anywhere in that window, Brenda, you're looking at being able to see multiple ports. So thanks for that question.
And the other touch on a little point to touch on, sometimes if you do a search or you're looking at Eastern Caribbean, sometimes it only touches the top end of those islands. But sometimes if you change your search to be more like Southern Caribbean, then a lot of times you'll grab, those islands all right down to Grenada and Barbados and, St. Kitts, which are closer to the bottom of the Eastern Caribbean.
All right. Any other questions out there? Brenda broke the ice. If not, then we're going to get to our draw. We have, I think everybody has now been able to comment. I see the wheel is ready to spin. Look at all those names.
The
Thank you so
wheel
much,
is ready
everybody,
to be
for
spun.
commenting. Look at all those names.
Yeah. All right. So this is it. Not on me. It is the fanny belt. Okay. Are we ready? And the winner is
And I'm not spinning this, so if my mom wins, it's not my fault.
true.
Oh, so close. Hey,
almost did.
Brenda asked the question, and look at that. Brenda's the one who won. So see, sometimes
Congratulations.
asking questions pays off. So thank you,
Yeah.
Brenda, for the one and only question. And as a result, you won the spin. So look
I
at
didn't ring it, I swear.
that.
Brenda, do you want to give us a quick email? And we'll be happy to get this belt out to you. All right. Okay. Let me just go back to presenting our screen, because at the end, we just like to share our information so that you can contact us.
Perfect. So that'll be very helpful for Brenda to get your money belt from us. Shoot us a line and we'll be sure to get that out to you. This has been a great turnout. Very much appreciate the feedback and the participation. Hopefully you enjoyed this session, and we do this every Wednesday. So be sure to make mention of it to your travel friends. Get them watching as well. If they're not already following our Cruise Deals for Canadians page, get the word out, have them join our page and see all the fantastic offers that we have with all the different cruise lines that we deal with. Right now, our featured supplier is Virgin, but every month we have a different cruise supplier that we feature. So be sure to check out all the different deals that we have with every cruise line. And we'll see you all again next Wednesday. So I just want to thank Luke, Karen for presenting, for Tina and Rick joining us this evening, and of course, all of you for watching. With that, thank you so much, everybody, and have a great night.